My mom told me for years, always vote Democrat because they care for the people.
Right.
Republicans only care for the money.
Right.
So if someone says that, what's your say to that?
And
What's
my
your
answer
take
to that is they obviously don't care for the people because the impact of their policies has been dramatically terrible. They're raking it in. Are you raking it in? Right, how's your life? Has your life dramatically improved because of the Democrats in your area you keep electing? If the answer is no, then maybe they don't care that much.
You know, cancel culture has gotten bad for Democrats, that even top liberal leaders are getting worried about it. Former President Barack Obama blasting woke Democrats in his party and telling them to stop being a, quote, buzzkill.
People just want to not feel as if they are walking on eggshells. We're going around scolding folks if they don't use exactly the right phrase, or that identity politics becomes the principal lens through which we view our various political challenges.
So, Greg, is the former president spot on?
Oh, absolutely. But he's a little late to the party.
Exactly.
I mean, we should be grateful that he finally showed up. But if he had gotten in early on this, before wokeism took over, we would still have Roseanne.
Do it, and we've got great opportunities. And look, part of it is people know and they appreciate good leadership. And the fact of the matter is, we've done that in the state of Florida. People are looking to Florida for leadership more than they ever have in the history of our state. We've had major issues of global significance even, and we've been on the forefront protecting people's rights, keeping people working, protecting our kids in school. And I think you see a huge groundswell of support out there to recognize that leadership. But it's also the case that people also recognize while the state of Florida may be on the right track, they understand our country's leadership is taking us on the wrong track. And you've seen, I don't know if you saw, we did have a visitor earlier this week down in South Florida. It's a fella that was wandering around a little aimlessly. I don't know if he really knew where, so they had to get him situated. He was making a lot of misstatements as usual. And it's interesting, you see this, because these people are so predictable. The regime media is going to knife this guy in the back as soon as the Democrats get blown out on Tuesday, because they see him as a liability. Because you guys see the lack of leadership in Washington. We have the worst inflation we've had in 4 decades, and it's because his policies have facilitated it. We have energy problems like we haven't had in many years because they've declared war on our own domestic energy production. You can go beg Maduro from oil, and somehow that's not global warming, but if we produce our own, that's somehow a bad thing. So they are causing you to pay more for energy. It's not just gas prices, it's utilities, it's the cost of goods because the energy goes into everything that is produced. And so they're doing that. So yes, those are really bad things people are having to contend with, which is bad enough. But voters know that Biden is making these problems so bad. He's creating these problems. And so there's a lot of folks, they're running now trying to say like they're going to do all these things when, they've been supporting Biden the whole time. So people understand that. And I think what's going to happen, you're starting to see a little trickles of it. But these regime media outlets in New York and D.C., you're going to start seeing stories after the midterms. Biden may not be physically fit to be president. He may have, this or that. And you're going to start seeing that. And there's going to be a drum. Now, they should have done this 2 years ago, and it was obvious he shouldn't have been running for president. But they didn't do that because they had an agenda. Well, now I think their agenda is going to be that they want to push him aside because they view him as a liability. So stay tuned for that. I'm usually right about these things because these people are very easy to see. We see their narrative, so you know what they're going to do. You see it from a mile away.
They feel like, hey, black men, black women, they're almost loyal voting bloc, and they show up for us no matter what. It might have been shocking to hear, but he didn't say anything that folks didn't already know. Like, hey, the Democratic Party takes, the black vote for granted. And that's something that I think a lot of people are realizing. There are black conservatives out there. Sorry. You know what I mean? Like, all black people aren't a part of the Democratic Party. Damn near everything they promised black people I haven't seen come to fruition.
Put him down as a maybe. He said he's from South Carolina. He says he knows people from the South, and that interview went on, and he said his gut, and I'm quoting, his gut is telling him that Ron DeSantis is more stable and could win the Republican primary.
Oh, so he's weighing in on that little contest.
He did.
All right, thanks, Lauren.
I'm glad that there is a special prosecutor that's been appointed to investigate.
You are glad that there is a
this.
special
Yes.
prosecutor.
Classified documents are to be taken seriously. No one is above the law. So I'm glad to see the Justice Department doing its work.
Well, it's certainly embarrassing, right?
I still would like to see Congress do its own assessment of and receive an assessment from the intelligence community of whether there was an exposure to others of these documents, whether there was harm to national security.
See you in California.
Mr. President, what do you know right now about why this happened? And can you assure Americans that there won't be a ripple effect?
Do you expect other banks to fail, Mr. President?
Should all depositors be protected at all banks? All right, thank you, everybody. In town.
Transgender kids is a really harder thing. What's going on in Florida is, as my mother would say, close to sinful. I mean, it's just terrible what they're doing. It's not like, a kid wakes up one morning and says, I decided I want to become a man, or I want to become a woman, or I want to change. I mean, what are they thinking about here?
He doesn't see it as sinful allowing a child to mutilate themselves because they have these brief fleeting moments early in their life of feeling like a boy or a girl. Joe Biden is the sickest, most depraved president in the history of the United States. And I say that knowing America's full history. This man is sick.
We live in one of the most incredible moments in the history of our country. And I would just encourage you all to be praying for our president. You'll never hear this, but Joe Biden, you're a coward. You're a coward. You say you're a Christian. You say you love the Lord Jesus. You say that rights come from God, our Creator. And you think that 62 million slaughtered lives is not nearly enough. And it's never too late to repent. And unless repentance begins at the top and flows down, then according to the last line of the Old Testament, if men don't have a heart for children, we're cursed.
Biden's decision to withdraw its US forces in Afghanistan has been nothing short of a disaster when you consider the fact that the US since 2001 spent $2 trillion of taxpayers' money on preventing a Taliban takeover. It's fair to question Biden's judgment when his administration was confident that the Afghanistan army were equipped to defend themselves, although it only took 10 days for the Taliban to take over the capital. Unsurprisingly, this subset of decisions made by current and past presidents had only led to a humanitarian disaster in Afghanistan with more than 24 million of people in need of aid. To add to insult, Biden had freezed the $7 billion in funds that was allocated to support Afghanistan and signed an executive order to migrate half of the funds to support 9/11 victims, a decision that was deemed morally wrong by the victims of 9/11 families. This makes me question if Joe Biden is the sympathetic figure he portrays himself to be, or is he just another self-obsessed politician?
Is this unprecedented to arrest a former president for not turning in documents?
Former president that had committed this many provable criminal acts.
What are the provable criminal acts, I guess?
Provable criminal acts. Well, I'm done talking.
Is this unprecedented to arrest a former president for not turning in documents?
Former president that had committed this many provable criminal acts.
What are the provable criminal acts, I guess?
Provable criminal acts. Well, I'm done talking.
I gotta tell you, I have some of these know-nothing consultants who tell me, you really need to back away from President Trump right now. And I say to them, put down Hunter's crack pipe right now. Wouldn't it be horrible? Wouldn't it be horrible? What would it say about my character if I stepped away from my friends? If I step away from my friends, that means I would step away from you, and I will never step away from the people of Arizona. And so for those know-nothing consultants and the media, I want to show you what it looks like when I step away from President Trump.
Well, just hours after quitting the Democratic Party, Tulsi Gabbard also revealing what her appearances on some media outlets has cost her.
It ranges from people kind of like giving you a cynical look, like whose side are you really on, to people just outright ending that friendship or that professional relationship because they don't want to have anything to do with you.
Maybe our next guest can relate to this. Actor and comedian Rob Schneider joins us right here.
How are you?
Great to see you, Rob.
Yeah.
Finally have you on the couch.
Thank you. It's
used
good
to
to
work
be.
right across
Yeah.
the street. What's your reaction to Tulsi Gabbard doing what she did yesterday?
It shouldn't be such a shock. We don't get 10 parties. You get 2,
Right.
you know? And I really feel I don't want the Democratic Party trying to run my life. And there's not one aspect of your life that they don't want to interfere with. So I had it with them. So I got out of California. I moved to the slightly freer state of Arizona.
Slightly. Your journey is similar, though. You were a Democrat, and then
you have to be in San Francisco.
Of course. So what was it that changed your point of view?
Well, literally, there wasn't. Taxes. There wasn't one part of business. Newsom pushed me over the edge.
Right.
It's just like I just don't think your life gets better there. It gets worse. You know what it was? It was like there was in San Francisco. They said you had to remove. I was living in San Francisco. I had it made there. It's like it's on the cable car and everything. I had a rooftop. This is the place where I'm going to live forever. And they said you have to have the toilets removed from your house. And I said, what? What? I don't have toilets in front of my house. It was flower pots.
Right.
They made me remove all the flower pots. So it just got crazier and crazier. And maybe I'm looking at this all wrong. San Francisco either has a huge homeless problem or a gigantic camping success story. You have to look at both
What
ways.
made you want to be so bold and so vocal about it? Because Tulsi said, if you don't agree with the Democratic Party, you're trashed, you're canceled.
Yes. So absolutely. She's right.
Do you worry about that, getting jobs?
Yes, of course you are. Yeah. As an actor, you're always coming from a place of trying to get work. But at a certain point, you have to worry about, I'm in my 50s now, late 50s. It's going to catch you too, Brian. But, no, yeah, I worry more about, the freedoms of my kids.
Yeah.
I'm a grandfather now.
Right.
And so, I do at a certain point, you have to put, it's really weird. Well, something's wrong. When people say, if you put God and family and country first, that's somehow controversial.
Right.
How is that controversial?
Or a flag is triggering.
Yeah. So
Right.
I think at a certain point you have to say enough of this and stand up to it.
Did you lose friends?
I would say people that don't return my calls as often. But to be honest with you, a lot of people that I'm friends with in Hollywood, they lean towards the right, but they're just scared of it because it really is like a mob of ideologues that just that you feel they will attack you, and it's really not necessarily based in anything but there's almost like a religious architecture in their thinking.
So when it comes to changing party, to quote one of your characters, you can do it.
You can do it. You have to go with what feels right for you. We get 2 parties. We don't get 10.
Sure.
And I want to, have a party that represents my core values.
And you were talking a moment ago about your family. So you've got this brand new movie out, opens wide this Friday. It's called Daddy Daughter Trip. Your actual daughter is playing your seatmate in the front seat of a car.
Yeah. She, well, first of all, we started trying to make the movie years ago. And by the time we were getting closer, my daughter was about, old enough to play the part. She started looking over and she said, well, who's going to play that role? We were writing, my wife and I, Patricia. And she said, well, you're getting close to the age. And so she started coming up with it. And then she was great. I didn't have to give her notes. She's basically like my daughter, Elle. They grew up in the business and they're like stage rats. Right.
Yeah.
They just saw it.
And Ella's doing so well.
Thank
Ella's
you.
nominated for a Grammy. Her music is beautiful. Elle
Thank
King.
you. She's doing really great. She's opening for Chris Stapleton all over.
Right, so you don't have to work anymore. You can live off her.
She tells me that. She tells me that. Dad, I got your retirement figured out, Dad.
Right.
I got it. If you need to go into a home, I got it set.
Well, I assume that's good impression. We don't know. We haven't seen her off camera. So who plays your wife in this movie?
Jackie Sandler.
And is she related to?
She's related to Adam Sandler.
Right.
So fun.
You've created
She's
Done the
great.
Impossible. There's a sense of family with the Adam Sandler and the Rob Schneider movies.
It's good.
Right?
There's a sense of comfort. First of all, when you're shooting something, you have to be comfortable with the person. And so, when you've spent so much time with these people, we just start rolling and shooting. And I played her wife in Home Team, with Kevin James, who's another family member.
Funny.
We have a lot of fun together. We try not to let the political, whatever differences. The love of country comes up first and foremost. We love this place. place. We want to continue and expand its freedoms and continue them for our kids. We care about that.
Rob, is it harder to do a comedy, though, given, the political correctness and limits?
Yes, it is. That's why, it's like, first of all, this is the first movie that my kids could watch. All the other movies back in the 90s, it is tougher now because you have people who will cling to a word or this or that. And the idea is like, you got to put it out there into what makes you laugh, and hopefully
Rob,
that's
we
enough.
miss you on SNL. You were so good. That was Chris Farley and Chris Rock and
we
you.
had a great team.
Well, you're going to be on Late
Sandler.
Night tonight. You're going to be on with.
I'll be on the #1 late night show, baby.
It is.
Yeah, I did love being on that show. It was great, and I wish them the best.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Former member of Congress and a 2020 presidential candidate is announcing her departure from America's oldest existing political party.
I can no longer remain in today's Democratic Party that's under the complete control of an elitist cabal of warmongers who are driven by cowardly wokeness, who actively work to undermine our God-given freedoms that are enshrined in our Constitution, who are hostile to people of faith and spirituality.
Gabbard made history in 2012 when she became the first American Samoan and practicing Hindu in Congress, serving as the representative of Hawaii's 2nd District. The Iraq War veteran has been a vocal critic of Democratic policies over the border and police funding.
So there's a lot of concern by Democrats. I think Tulsi Gabbard is kind of like this microcosm of a much larger issue for Democrats. It's not about Tulsi Gabbard. It's really about the direction of their party and the voters that they're losing.
And on Friday, late night host Bill Maher had this to say about the current administration's woke love affair with identity politics. He's right again. Hate to say it. He hates when we do say it, but it's true. He got it right.
What I could see is replacing the vice president because, yeah, she's just not very popular. A lot of the problem with Biden being old is, oh, if he dies, then, you're going to get this person. Okay, so here's the problem with the Democratic Party. They're so boxed in by identity politics that you cannot conceive of a Democratic ticket that doesn't have a woman, person of color on it, and pretty soon you're going to line up behind that gay, Latino, and you're going to have, a deaf Eskimo.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's look at the fact.
Among the only press in the world that does this.
You disgust me. How can you live with yourself?
Seriously. Seriously.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Trump has always said, I'm good for business. I'm great for business, for the media and the ratings and everything. Well, the Democrats kind of believe that, too. They believe that Trump is good for their business, their political business, their electoral business, if you will. They think that putting Trump front and center is going to somehow, some way, sway some moderates, sway some independents in the midterms to look at Democrats or give them a second chance. And I got to tell you, I think there's some validity to that. I don't think there's any question about it. I think at this point, the question for Democrats is, how much will this actually impact them going forward?
Why are we seeing all these problems? Because Biden does not believe in a peace through strength policy, and he doesn't believe in strengthening America. With these axis of evils that are being created, he doesn't believe in standing up to them. And you see them pushing the envelope further and further and further wherever it is that they can, because they know Biden will not stand up. He won't have a red line. He likes to wear the title Commander-in-Chief. Unfortunately, I liken him to Coward-in-Chief. He does not have the guts to be strong in the face of anything, not even in the face of our own domestic border with Mexico. He doesn't have the strength to be strong, and that continues everywhere else. So I think it just, personally for me, I think it stems down to a cowardice.
You know, should he run again? I think that I think it's we'll take a look at it.
Okay.
But right now we need to focus on winning a majority instead of a presidential election.
I'm looking squarely towards 2022 and the re-election ahead of me.
Do you want to see Joe Biden?
I don't want to answer that question because we have not. I don't want to answer that question.
Do you believe President Biden should run for a second term?
I have said if he runs, I'll support him.
I'm working on my own election, and that's all I'm focused on right now.
Everybody's worried about the elections. That's the problem. It's a 2022 election, 2024
No,
election.
but this is a simple question. Would you?
No, it's not. I'm not getting involved in that, John.
Too early to say. It doesn't serve the purpose of the Democratic Party to deal with that until after the midterms.
Ms. Maloney.
I don't believe he's running for re-election. Mr. President, I apologize. I want you to run. I happen to think you won't be running. But when you run, or if you run, I will be there 100%.
A sitting president, if he decides to run again, he should run again. I mean, the Democratic Party will support the president in general. I think there's a lot of us who want to see new voices rise in the party. And that's not just the presidency, by the way.
I think in 2024, it's going to be an opportunity, not to mention a national need for a new generation of leaders on both sides of the aisle.
If he feels that he's in a position to win the presidency again in 2024, then that is a situation that everyone should evaluate at the appropriate time.
I will support President Biden.
Do you want him to run?
If he decides he wants to run, and I think his decision will be determined by how November ends for the Democratic Party.
Do you want to see him run for re-election?
Look, right now my concern is electing more Democrats in this midterm election.
I mean, we're talking a year or two away. I'm not thinking a year or two away.
Do you think he should run again?
I'm going to duck that question, if you don't mind. We don't have any candidates yet for 2024, and I'm not picking amongst them.
Every day we rely on law enforcement to save lives. Then on January 6th, we relied on law enforcement to save our democracy. We saw what happened. The Capitol Police, the D.C. Metropolitan Police, other law enforcement agencies were attacked and assaulted before our very eyes, speared, sprayed, stomped on, brutalized, and lives were lost. And for 3 hours, the defeated former President of the United States watched it all happen as he sat in the comfort of the private dining room next to the Oval Office. While he was doing that, brave law enforcement officers were subject to the medieval hell for 3 hours, dripping in blood, surrounded by carnage, face to face with crazed mob that believed the lies of a defeated president. The police were heroes that day. Donald Trump lacked the courage to act. The brave women and men in blue all across this nation should never forget that. You can't be pro-insurrection and pro-cop. You can't be pro-insurrection and pro-democracy. You can't be pro-insurrection and pro-American. There can be no greater responsibility than to do all we can to ensure the safety of our families, our children, our community, our nation, and our law enforcement officers. I will always meet that duty, just as you do every single day as members of a critically important organization. May God bless you all, and may God protect law enforcement.
President Biden finding himself in a free fall after another bruising week. His administration racking up losses after a judge pulled his transportation mask mandate and Democrats revolted over his plan to end Title 42, which could lead to an even bigger surge at the border. Two major election forecasters now predicting a red wave and are shifting their projected outcomes for several House races towards the GOP. CNN soaking it all up with this headline. It's been a very bad few days for Joe Biden.
when you look at where they ended up on election day, midterm election day, that's where you've got convergent. You take Bush out of it, a year after 9/11, but Clinton was at 44%. His party lost 54 seats. Obama was at about 45.5%. Democrats lost 63 seats. There's Trump, 43.5%. Republicans lost 40 seats.
The truth here is that to those people who believe that Joe Biden's winning had more to do with disliking Donald Trump, I would say this. I think America dislikes Joe Biden. And I think America dislikes Joe Biden because they're fed up of what he's done to them. And it's exacerbated by the pandemic. I mean, everything that he's done has been struck down, whether it's a mask mandate, whether it was a vaccine mandate, whether it was the eviction moratorium, whether it was blocking companies from vaccinating their employees. Everything the guy tries to do is being knocked down in the courts. And he's dragged down the whole party. The crime rate is beyond what any of us have seen in 30 years. So I think that certainly the Republicans have to have a plan, and they will have a plan. They're for law and order. They're for border security. They're for making sure that we are independent, that we do things and make things in America, and that we don't support our enemies when it comes to making products for America. And in the end, I think it's as simple as saying, this guy has been a disaster. Everything that's happened to us since he's been the president is a mess. And
I don't know everything that I'm about to say, and it may not be too friendly. So please send the kids to the other room. This video is for grown folks only. Because I'm going to say some things that are not family friendly. So if you don't want to hear any bad words, turn this video off, because I'm saying what's on my mind. I'm about to tell y'all how I really feel. Now, my last video was shut off, and it was removed for I don't know what, but I'm about to tell you how I really feel. We have a man in office who I will not call the president. There is no way in the hell I'm calling him a president. He's not my president. He may be your president, but he sure is not my president. Okay? Because how can you call yourself a president and leave Americans in danger? How can you call yourself a commander-in-chief? Please explain to me, how can you call yourself a commander-in-chief and then put Americans in danger? So I have a message for you, Joe Biden. And you know what, people? This is about to be rated R, so I'm giving you a warning right now, okay? This is about to be rated R, so I'm giving you a warning right now. Send the kids to the other room, because I'm about to say something to Joe that may not be too friendly or too Christian, okay? Joe Biden, fuck you. 13 service members died. Fuck you. You are a coward. And you are not my president, and you never will be my damn president. I will never call you the president. You are a weak coward. You don't have what it takes to be a leader. You don't have the strength. You don't have the ability to stand up for the American people. President Trump kept us safe for 4 years. And ever since you've been in office, we haven't been too damn safe. Ever since you've been in office, America has been getting worse and worse and worse. Ever since you've been in office, everything has been going down the damn hill. 13 service members died, Joe Biden. And you don't want to take full responsibility. You claim you are taking responsibility, but no. You want to claim you taking responsibility, but you also want to say Trump did this, Trump did that. Shut the hell up. This ain't about Trump. This is about you and your bullshit, Biden. I'm sick of you pointing the finger at Trump every time something pop off. You can't sit up here and say you are the president, but you don't act like it. Well, Trump did this. Well, it was Trump who said we should get out of Taliban. Well, it was Trump who said we should get out of Afghanistan and out of this and out of that. Shut the hell up, Biden. You are supposed to be the commander in chief. You are supposed to have a great exit strategy. But you didn't have one. You did not have a strategic exit strategy. You didn't. Point blank, period. Quit saying Trump this, Trump that. Shut the hell up. Trump is not in office anymore. You are supposed to be in office. Take responsibility, you freaking coward. I'm sick of people blaming Trump. Y'all wanted Biden? So look at Biden. Point the finger at him. Joe Biden, if you want somebody to blame, go look in the damn mirror. Go look in the mirror, Joe Biden, and point at yourself. Blame yourself. If you want to be the president, Joe Biden, don't blame Trump. Start taking full responsibility without saying Trump did this and Trump did that. This is on you, Joe Biden. 13 U.S. service members have died. They have died. Now, someone will be without a father now. Someone will be without a mother. Someone will be without a brother and a sister. These service members had families. These service members had people who loved them. But you and Kamala, y'all don't give a damn. You and Kamala don't give a damn. And I'm sick of these Republicans not saying anything. Stand the hell up, Republicans. Impeach Joe Biden. Impeach Kamala Harris. And get rid of Nancy damn Pelosi. The Democrats, they work together to get rid of Republicans. Republicans need to do the same thing and get rid of these damn Democrats. Y'all didn't want Trump because, he said mean stuff. Y'all didn't want Trump because he made a mean tweet. Well, I will take a mean tweet over a weak president any day. I will take a mean tweet over a man who will leave Americans behind. Excuse my language, but I'm going to say it one more time. Fuck you, Joe Biden. And I normally don't talk like that. I normally don't stoop that low. But service members have died because we have a weak coward in office. So I don't care about my language today. It's well justified. God bless the families who have lost their loved ones.
You all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you.
Welcome to Politically Unstable with Charles Hurt, Washington Times opinion editor. I'm your host, Andy Parks, and I'd like to remind you that you qualify for a 50% discount on an annual digital subscription to the Washington Times simply by going to WashingtonTimes.com/Andy. That's WashingtonTimes.com/ANDY. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Washington Times opinion editor Charles Hurt. Hello, Charlie.
Hey, Andy. How you doing?
Doing just fine, thanks. 100 days in, Biden needs to retire. That's the title of your column. And you know it's bad when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I like to call her that. Ocasio-Cortez.
How is that not? I mean, that should have stuck from day one. That's really good. Did you just come up with that, or had you been holding out on
I've been holding out on you.
Stolen
yeah. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is praising his work. She said he's exceeding expectations. How bad is that for the country?
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, when you have impressed Ocasio-Cortez with your left-wing lunacy, then you have really jumped the shark. You have really, really done it at that point. For me, sort of the moment, the great picture of the Biden administration thus far was the picture from last week or maybe earlier this week. Biden doing a Zoom with world leaders around the world, and he's wearing a mask on his Zoom call. I mean, I don't know whether. I mean, it's funny, it's hilarious, it's hysterical. It's a perfect encapsulation of this moment that we find ourselves in. There is no science whatsoever. I mean, granted, I will be clear. The internet is a very dangerous place. And you have to be very careful it's also a very dirty place. I mean, think of all the bad things that you can catch by going on the internet. But I'm just thinking the Chinese virus is not one of the things you're going to, or at least not the one that we're talking about right now, is not the virus that you're going to catch from being on the internet. Maybe he thought that he was worried it was going to infect his computer or, spamware or something like that. It's all very good, especially when you become completely detached from reality, detached from science, detached from like normal people walking around. Then obviously you're going to put a mask on to go on the computer. I think that antivirusware, that's not what we're thinking about when you think about needing to protect your computer from viruses.
Well, let's take a look at his 100 days, okay? Border crisis.
Oh, Lord.
Yes. American energy independence down the toilet. Race conspiracy theories about the police. Climate change nonsense, packing the Supreme Court. I mean, how long does this list go?
I don't know, but every one of them, Ocasio-Cortez was like in the wings, apparently just applauding because this guy we never could have dreamed. And what's weird is, this is a guy that's been in Washington for 50 years. When he goes out there and he talks about the Derek Chauvin trial, we got the verdict out of that. I pray to dear God that the jury made their decision based on evidence and wisdom, and I trust that. And if they do, then that's the way our system works. I pray that they didn't decide based on external concerns, such as what the president said and what others said about basically warning that there would be riots and people would further murder and mayhem if the jury ruled the wrong way. I pray that they didn't allow that into the thought process. At this point, we simply don't know. But one thing that we can say without any doubt whatsoever is nobody ever proved that there was any racial component to the what happened to George Floyd. What happened to George Floyd was the result of, according to the jury, a cop who made bad decisions and performed badly. But at no point did anyone present any evidence that there was anything racial about it.
Yeah.
But, of course, President Biden goes there, and he talks about institutional racism, and he talks about systemic racism, which, of course, Ocasio-Cortez, she's cheering all of this nonsense. But nobody is even trying to put forth actual evidence that that's the case. Obviously, there are these really tragic cases involving people who get hurt or die in police custody. And literally, this is a 100% issue. Everyone agrees that they don't want to see people dying or getting hurt in police custody. But the problem is, as soon as you inject race into it, it becomes this whole different thing. But here's my rather long-winded point here, is just this one thing. If America is systemically, inherently racist, then Joe Biden is inherently systemically racist.
Yes.
There is nobody in all of America who is more the face of institutional America than Joe Biden, who has been part of the problem for 50 years. He was in the White House as vice president for 8 years. If this is a stunning admission by Joe Biden that Joe Biden thinks Joe Biden is a bigot, as well as all these other Americans who have supported Joe Biden over the years and reelected him over the years. And of course, mind you, none of us hung out with a Grand Kleagle in the KKK. None of us ever did that. This guy did. This guy boasted about all of how he could work with all of these racists and stuff like that. None of us have done that. None of us. I mean, and so I just find it so amazing that we find ourselves in this moment where we have a president who is saying all of this about himself, and then yet still it's like somehow we're the ones to blame. And I'm just like scratching my head. And then, of course, Ocasio-Cortez. I really love that.
Yeah.
How did you not tell me about Ocasio-Cortez before now? Because I am nothing if not a thief. And so I promise you,
It'll be in a column.
I will never call her anything else but Ocasio-Cortez.
Yeah, you can't help it sometimes. You look at it and go, does that say Ocasio? Yes, it does, in my mind.
Well, I don't know if her name does, but whatever the hell follows after that's in the quotation mark, that's Ocasio.
Yeah. All right, so now according to the Democrats, the America we live in today is awful and it has to be changed, but they're the ones that created it, if you look back in history, as you just mentioned. I mean, the whole racism thing, he and his buddy, KKK leader Robert Byrd, I mean, you can go down a list a mile long. These are the people responsible for what they claim is awful in this country today.
Yeah, and of course, obviously, we don't actually believe that. We don't actually believe that any of these cops are acting in this manner. I'm sure you could find a case where there is some racist cop that did something like this, and that cop should be dealt with ferocity. The same ferocity that you deal with any bad cop. But the idea that these people, it's all about political power. They don't actually care. This whole defund police, who does that hurt? That doesn't hurt anybody but the people that they claim to want to help, which is often minorities who live in places where Minneapolis or wherever, where these clowns want to defund the police. And, you take the case with that young girl where that hero cop had to unholster his gun and shoot a young girl who was attempting to murder another young girl. If this were like in a cartoon, the cop would be like Superman or Wonder Woman with a cape, would be flying in. It would be this great hero who saved the life of an innocent person. Unfortunately, the only way to save that innocent person was to shoot and unfortunately kill a bad person, young person, who was attempting to murder another person. But somehow or another, it gets racialized because it's all about political power. It's so tragic, and it only hurts the people that these clown politicians claim to care most about.
Yeah, speaking of clowns, LeBron James, what an idiot.
And it's so too bad because, you have these figures like, a guy like him, and I think about the other great, sports greats throughout time who have been, Michael Jordan or somebody like that who is, I don't even watch basketball really.
Yeah.
It's not my sport, but watching a guy like that play and watching a guy like that lead on the court when those stories cross over into, common news, it's really interesting, and you love these people, and they're heroic, and they're brilliant geniuses at what they do, and then they decide to open their mouths and get involved in politics.
I know,
and it's
stupid.
just so insane.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? Why not? Why can't you just be great at what you're great at and stick to that?
Yep.
Because you're amazing at what you do. Why do you have to reveal your ignorance, reveal your prejudice, your rank prejudice, by wandering into this stuff because you want to, I don't know, you want to feel good or you want to look cool for a different set of people or something? It's insane.
Yeah. I want to touch on a couple other things before I let you run today. John Kerry, the new leaky Leahy, he gives Iran Israeli intelligence information. Pompeo this morning evidently said, here I'm briefing Trump and he's briefing the Iranians.
Yeah, it's treason. He committed treason.
Yes, of course.
He should be dealt with accordingly. And by the way, the left loves it when we sit around talking about their hypocrisy. Because when we talk about their hypocrisy, and a perfect example is, the idea that Michael Flynn, President Trump's incoming national security advisor, was run out of town on a rail, persecuted, prosecuted, life destroyed, is left financially destitute for having conversations, part of an incoming administration, having conversations with foreign adversaries at a time when they were setting up the government to deal with the new administration. The idea that is somehow evil and results in all that befell him versus what John Kerry did every day, flouted the rules about all of this stuff and colluded with a profound enemy. America and Russia were at odds for 40 years. We had enough missiles pointed at one another to annihilate the Earth 7 times over for 40 years. And we managed to get out of that with, obviously horrible cost to many, many people, but we managed to get out of that without launching a single missile at one another. Can you imagine if Iran had 1,000 nuclear warheads pointed at America or Israel?
Yeah.
Do you have any doubt they wouldn't press the button?
No.
And so, the left exposes themselves as being the hypocrites that they are and the double standards and all that kind of stuff. They love it when we talk about that because we're not talking about, oh, wait a minute. John Kerry is in bed with the largest state sponsor of terrorism on the planet.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait, that's the newsflash. The newsflash is that Barack Obama gave hundreds of millions of dollars in cash on pallets under the darkness of night to a theocracy in Iran that despises everything civilized people stand for. And that money that Barack Obama and John Kerry and Joe Biden gave the Iranians was used to build bombs that killed U.S. servicemen, that was used to kill innocent people. They gave that money to terrorists that killed innocent people in this world. And again, we're talking about the hypocrisy, and there is hypocrisy. But again, the newsflash is what we've known all along, which is, oh my gosh, these people are actually in bed with terrorists. This is just stunning. And I guarantee you this, Andy, whatever it is that those people who voted for Joe Biden in the 2020 election, they didn't vote for him to go get back into bed with Iran. But that's the message. Yet again, they're so dumb, they're so evil, they're so dishonest, they're so stupid. That's the message they want to take from voters. Oh, yeah, we're going to go get back into bed with Iran. What is going on here? It's crazy.
It is crazy. 100 days in, Biden needs to retire. That's the title of Charlie's latest column. Check it out at WashingtonTimes.com. Charlie, good to talk to you, my friend. Take care. We'll do it again.
Always fun to talk to you, buddy.
Thanks for listening to Politically Unstable with Charlie Hurt. As I mentioned, you can read all of Charlie's columns at WashingtonTimes.com. While you're there, check out a great selection of podcasts. I'm Andy Parks. Have a great day.
I do not believe you are a racist. And I agree with you when you commit yourself to the importance of finding common ground. But I also believe, and it's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing.
Look, everything I've done in my career, I ran because of civil rights. I continue to think we have to make fundamental changes in civil rights. And those civil rights, by the way, include not just only African Americans, but the LGBT community.
But Vice President Biden, do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America then?
No.
Do you agree?
I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education. That's what I opposed.
Well, there was a failure of states to integrate public schools in America. I was part of the second class to integrate Berkeley, California public schools almost 2 decades after Brown v. Board of Education.
Because your city council made that decision. It was a local decision.
So that's where the federal government must step in. That's why we have the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. That's why we need to pass the Equality Act. That's why we need to pass the ERA, because there are moments in history where states fail to preserve the civil rights of all people.
How did you feel hearing that?
Well, obviously it was very offensive. However, I think it's totally irrelevant. I mean, it was so long ago, and I do believe that most men will talk about women in ways that they would never talk about publicly. And of course, if they would have known that they were being recorded, there's no doubt in my mind the conversation would have been totally different. Nobody is perfect. Here's the issues. Last night in that debate, they defined their issues. They lined the marks in the sand. Number one, Roe v. Wade. Okay, Hillary Clinton doesn't care about murdering babies, dismembering abortions. That's okay with her. Okay?
Wait a second.
Religious freedom.
We're talking, I appreciate you talking about substance, and that is important, Vicki, but we're talking about locker room conversation.
Yes.
My question was about, is it okay that a man who wants to be the president of the free world is bragging and admits to it, and yes, he's apologized to
that's wrong.
assault.
Okay. Yes, but that is wrong, absolutely. But here's the thing, he's not running to be the Pope. Look at the culture of our country. Everybody knew he had strip clubs, but still the millions of people chose him to be the nominee. I mean, this is the kind of person that needs to lead our country. God can use anybody. He used the harlots. And that's the thing. It's all about what God can do. God can do this. God can use this man.
But you know, the things that we've
it's all a part of it.
From this adult man who is running to be president of the United States, millions of children heard that, boys and girls. And boys may take their cues from this guy who wants to be our president and behave in accordance with...
Okay, but here's the thing. When Bill Clinton was president, my children came home from school and they had no idea it was actually called the Oval Office. They thought it was called the Oral Office because of the talk in the elementary schools.
Okay,
Bill Clinton educated my children at a much younger age than I wanted to.
But Vicki, Bill Clinton isn't running for president right now.
Exactly.
We're talking about Hillary Clinton.
No, but his wife is. His wife is. And they are a pair. The two are one.